the same price. Some people laughed when I told them that. Others asked how much contract killings cost. The head of security at the Palatine was a man named Johnny B. McCann. Johnny, or Johnny B. to his friends, Mr. B. to employees. Johnny had started out as a teamster in New York. Judging from the stories he told, his main job had been to grab stuff off trucks and walk picket lines when locals needed to strike. From there, he got into restaurants, working as a front manager. This was back in the late 60s and early 70s when the mob in New York had a heavy teamster connection and ran about 50% of the restaurants, usually into the ground. I'm guessing that when Johnny went from trucks to tablecloths, he was simply moving from one division in the company to another. But Johnny would never be so indiscreet as to mention the mob, especially in Vegas. Johnny's big chance came one afternoon when a fire broke out at the restaurant. He jumped behind the counter, grabbed the cash register, and hustled it outside, protecting it from the firemen, he says. The bosses noticed. In a couple of months, he moved to a restaurant with a shortage problem and took over as manager. The restaurant's medical insurance skyrocketed, but the shortage stopped. After that, Johnny's employers sent him to Chicago, and there he got involved with the Playboy clubs. And then, somewhere along the way, he got to Vegas and went legit. Or at least as legit as anyone in corporate gambling can be. Johnny B. was waiting in the hotel lobby when I came down. He had one of his brighter lieutenants with him, a man called Peanut. Peanut had been in the U.S. Air Force and had left as a chief master sergeant. He'd had something to do with security on nuclear missile bases, which sounds damn impressive unless you happen to have visited them. Peanut was a hulk of a guy, looming over me, and I'm a good 6'3". He wasn't in any sort of shape, but he was big, and size can cover a lot of mistakes. Unlike Johnny, who flashed a gold chain and exotic rings along with his black silk shirt and white jacket, Peanut was turned out in a sedate black suit, fitted so perfectly to his frame that you couldn't tell he carried a good-sized breadbasket with him. Where Johnny flashed a Rolex and a huge turquoise ring, Peanut's watch was tucked well up his sleeve. But it was a Patek Philippe, probably more expensive than Johnny's. "Hey, the man himself," said Johnny as I got off the elevator. He walked toward me, pointing his finger like a gun. Johnny was a short guy, and though well into his 60s, he still moved with lithe grace, a boxer skating across the ring at the start of a fight. The strains of Hell's Kitchen played in his voice, and he had a way of tugging at your jacket and poking you when he said hello that suggested something beyond intimacy. The first time you met him, you came away thinking he knew you all his life. You could go for months without seeing him, and there he'd be in the hotel lobby, pulling you along, asking where your cigar was, demanding whether you were finally ready to give up drinking that crap bourbon and move up to scotch. We shook hands. I said hello to Peanut, and we walked outside. A limo was waiting. All the doormen, there were a dozen, snapped to attention when we came out. My first drill sergeant in the Army would have thought he had found heaven. "Hey, we'll pick up Freeslavin and have a little fun," said Johnny. "Hey, you know Chris?" Freeslavin was the vice president for security at the Kingdom Casino, the other hotel I'd come to look over. I talked to him on the phone. That's it. "You'll like him. Great friend of mine. Real character." In Johnny's world, you were a player, a character, or a jerk. Most people were the latter. The Kingdom was just as big as Johnny's casino, and, while they were owned by the same conglomerate, in many ways a bitter rival. But the security staffs often worked together, sharing data and techniques. Keeping the scumbags out was in everybody's interests. And getting along with other people when it was in his interest was Johnny B's style. His ego didn't get in his way, and he seemed not to be particularly jealous or competitive, at least not in the ways that most of us are. He could stand apart from things, above them really. That was what I admired about him. That and the fact that he knew his business pretty damn well. He came off like a backslapping politician, and he was that. A throwback to the old-school glad-hander, the hustlers he'd grown up with in New York City. But his eyes saw a hell of a lot, and his ears caught what his eyes missed. The fancy suit and jewelry were a costume, camouflage for something very hard, very ferocious if it needed to be, but also very controlled. I had no doubt that if I ever got into a fight with him, even a fist fight, it would be a close thing. And that's the highest compliment I can give a man. After we picked up Freeslavin, we went over